What's up, guys? 0-1 yesterday. No way around the fact that we're not doing well here right now. Baseball historically has been pretty good for me. I just don't know what is going on here. Of course, the final score yesterday being 9-1 Arizona was not indicative of what that game really was. They scored, I think, 8 runs in the final couple innings or something. It was 1-1 into the 7th. It was tied after the 5th inning. So if you laid the half run in the first 5 innings, that still would have lost, although it was a lot closer. We move on to today. Hey, the Red Sox won. As the Red Sox have cut, I think, what was a 15-game deficit behind the Yankees down to like 5 in a matter of not that long of a span. Kind of crazy. I think the Red Sox have gone on a 12-4 run while the Yankees have gone on a 4-12 run. And Rafael Devers continues to be like one of the better hitters against the Yankees. He's one of the best Red Sox hitters in history on the road against the Yankees, which is crazy. All right, enough of my homer bias here. Let's move on to today. I'm going to have 2 plays today. One's going to be on the Washington Nationals. This is going to be a first 5-inning game because I really don't like the way the bullpens shape up here, so I want to remove them from the equation here. But I think the starting pitching matchup is in favor of Washington. This is a Monday card, so we do have a little bit of a shorter card, but I do like both of these plays. Washington's up from minus 105 to minus 109 on the full game. 60% of the tickets on them, so they're slightly public, but 96% of the cash, plus the line moving up on them. Does look like there are some market indicators on the Washington side moving the line up a little bit and with the cash discrepancy on them. But I'm taking this first 5 inning again because of the bullpen scenario, even though I think with the first 5 inning, you actually have to lay a higher favorite price, as the books know that the starting pitching matchup is in favor of Washington here. And they're telling you that with Washington being a bigger favorite in the first 5 inning than in the full game, they're telling you that they think that the starting pitching matchup is where they have more of the edge here. And I agree, but I'm still going to do it that way. You can get minus 110 on the full game right now, but you can get minus 112 on the first 5 innings. So that's really not much different. So that's the way I'm going to go. Very similar line. We'll do that. Looking at the game yesterday, one of the reasons why I want to go first 5 here, even though the Cardinals won yesterday in a blowout, so you might figure, well, the Washington's going to be in a bounce back spot here. They had an ugly loss. They're at home. They're going to bounce back. I do agree with that sentiment, but the bullpen scenario just doesn't look like I want to really get involved with this, as Gibson went a little bit further in the game than Hers did yesterday. Gibson pitching for the Cardinals yesterday, Hers for the Nationals. The Nationals had 4 relief pitchers come into the game. They did kind of use a lot of their bullpen yesterday, while St. Louis kind of saved more of theirs. So I'm just going to remove that from the equation, even though St. Louis did use a couple of their better relievers. They used 3 relief pitchers. They used their relievers for about 60 pitches, while Washington used theirs for about 90, and used 1 additional reliever, although it was Law who came in to kind of chew up some innings. So you could say maybe the bullpen scenario is a little bit of a wash, but I do think, I don't know which of these bullpens is actually better, but I just kind of want to take them out of the equation. So I'm going first 5 inning on this one and leaving it to basically the starting pitching matchup. And looking at the starting pitching matchup, I do think we have the edge here on this one. This is Miles Mikolas is pitching for St. Louis. He's a guy I've gone against a few times. His ERA is pretty ugly at 5.19. His whip being at 1.22 is indicative that his ERA probably shouldn't be as horrible as it looks there, but still not great. He's got 72 to 18 strikeout walk ratio is not that bad, but he's not a guy that comes in and strikes guys out. He is kind of a junk pitcher, a control pitcher in the later portion of his career. 102 thirds innings pitched, 105 hits allowed isn't very good. So he's been fairly hittable. Seems like he's kind of leaving some balls over the plate too much, with the walk number being pretty low, but the hit number being high. Usually tells you too many of those pitches are hittable and in the strike zone. He had a really bad outing against Cincinnati 2 outings ago, and then he bounced back and had a pretty decent outing against Pittsburgh. So does that mean he hasn't really been alternating good and bad starts. I don't really know if that's going to factor in at all here, but I do think that he's just the worst of these 2 pitchers. Looking at his overall stats, he's not a guy that comes in and blows people away. And against Washington, We have an okay sample size to look at here. And Washington's hitters are 13 for 45 off him lifetime with 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. He does have a 10-1 strikeout walk ratio against them, but it is a 289 batting average and 838 OPS. So Washington's offensive numbers against Mikolas are pretty good. So I like that. As far as fading his side in this one, I like that. Looking at the other side, Mitchell Parker, who is the rookie for Washington, he's been putting together a pretty good rookie season. Young left-hander Mitchell Parker, he's got a 3.61 ERA and a 1.1 whip. That's pretty good. That's a pretty low whip. So his stats are better than Mikolas. He's the younger guy. Neither of these guys are really strikeout guys. Parker's got 68 strikeouts and 18 walks. So again, not a horrible strikeout walk ratio, and that's in 84 and 2/3 innings. But the difference between him and Mikolas, as they both don't really strike too many guys out, their walk numbers are somewhat similar, but Mitchell Parker's only allowed 75 hits. So he's allowing significantly fewer than 1 hit per inning. So he's been more difficult to hit. So that tells you that he does have some stuff that's at least kind of fooling hitters and that they're not able to really hit him that well. And he's actually coming off his worst start of the season. Prior to the last start, he hadn't allowed more than 4 earned runs in any start. And that was a start at Colorado where you're pitching in high elevation. That's a tough atmosphere to pitch in, especially if you're a rookie. And if you take that Colorado game out, he had not allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start. And since June 1st, allowing 3 against Cleveland, who's a pretty good offensive team, he had not allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of his starts. So since that one, he's allowed 2, 0, or 1 earned run in 4 out of the 6 of his starts. And those only bad starts were that one I mentioned at Colorado and the one in his most recent start against the Mets, which wasn't even a horrible start. He gave up 5 earned runs, but it was because he allowed 3 home runs. So he does allow a lot of fly balls, which is a little bit concerning, but he had a 5.0 strikeout walk ratio, and that one only allowed 5 hits in 6 innings. So the fact that he gave up 5 runs, it was entirely because of the home runs allowed. And the Mets are a team that can hit decently. So I'm not going to really knock him that much for that. I think that start actually looks worse than it was. He's got good stats on the season, man, and the St. Louis Cardinals have never faced him before. So we get into that scenario where we have a rookie pitcher pitching pretty well, has decent stuff that can fool hitters, and these opposing hitters that he's facing here have never seen him before. So I always say that's a little bit of an advantage to the starting pitcher. The first couple times he faces the hitters, they don't know what to expect. They got to adjust to it. So I think Mitchell Parker has the advantage. So that's a first 5-inning play on the Washington Nationals at -112. And, of course, against Mikolas, as I mentioned, who's the much older pitcher and is the more familiar of the two pitchers and doesn't have great numbers against Washington. In the other game, I'm going full game total under in Atlanta at Arizona. I'm taking this one under. It does look like this line has moved down from 8.5 juice to the under to 8 juice to the over. So it's moved down slightly. I see the over being pretty public here because it's going to be the type of game that draws some public over bettors. You would have to think with 2 decent offenses, a good offense in Atlanta and a pretty decent one in Arizona. 74% of the tickets coming in on the over, but 68% of the cash. So less of the cash than the tickets on the over, which kind of indicates towards the under. It indicates there might be some bigger bets on the under. And as I said, we've seen the line move just slightly down on the total a little bit. On this one, you could still get under 8 at like a reduced juice price, -105. So I think that's a decent way to go here. I like that. Playing the under in Atlanta and Arizona. Atlanta with a 6-0 win yesterday against Philadelphia. So, I mean, that is a big series that they're coming off of, but Atlanta still probably wants to improve their record. They're facing the team that won the National League last year. I don't think they're really going to come in and overlook Arizona, but of course, this also comes down to the starting pitching matchup a lot. Atlanta didn't use a lot of their bullpen yesterday, man. They used their bullpen for about 40 pitches. They used 3 of their relievers. Their bullpen's not bad. So I don't think their bullpen is in very bad shape here. So that's not bad. Arizona used a little bit more of theirs in the game that I unfortunately lost on because even though they won 9-1, that game was actually close until the later innings. And of course, Arizona put up a 5 spot totally unnecessarily in the 9th inning, but Arizona used 3 of their relievers as well, and they really didn't use their relievers for much. They only used them for like 30-something pitches. They used Mantiply and Martinez, who are a couple of their guys that they bring in late game scenarios, but they only used them for 6 and 7 pitches, respectively. So it's not even definitive that they wouldn't be available in this game if they really wanted to use them. Those are very few pitches thrown yesterday. And then Jarvis threw 1 inning with 22 pitches, so he's probably unavailable. He's one of their better pitchers, but at that point they were winning the game by a lot, so they didn't use one of their best pitchers in the final inning there to finish off the game. So I think the bullpen scenario is fine for an under here. And looking at the starting pitching matchup, I like this for an under, man. Chris Sale is pitching for Atlanta, and even though he's an old guy, he's as old as Miles Mikolas. They're both 35, but Sale, he has not been suffering from his age, man. This season with the Braves, he's putting together a good season. Unfortunately, for me being a Red Sox fan, we had Sale, and Sale just had a lot of injuries when he was on the Red Sox and didn't totally put it together when he was on the Red Sox for the most part. But this season, he's got an 11-3 record because he's been backed by a pretty good offense. But he also, that's true. That is indicative of how well he's pitched this year. A 2.71 ERA and 0.91 whip. He's putting up some of the better numbers in Major League Baseball this year, man, with those numbers. Very low ERA and whip. His stats overall, really high strikeout rates. So even though he's 35, he's still mowing people down with 127 strikeouts and only 19 walks. That strikeout walk ratio is incredible for a guy that's 35 years old. 99 and 2/3 innings pitched, 127 strikeouts is a very high strikeout rate. 72 hits allowed, not a lot of hits allowed in those innings pitched either. Very low amount of hits. Chris Sale has just been, he's been excellent this year, man. And if you take away that 8-run, very strange anomaly, I don't know what that was against Oakland. Since that game, he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any start in 5 straight starts. If you go all the way back to April 13th, when he allowed 5 against Miami, from then on, he allowed 3 earned runs 1 time and allowed fewer than 3 earned runs in all the rest of his starts, except for that Oakland one. So that's like in 11 starts. Oh, man. He's allowed 2, 1, or 0 earned runs. He had 3 straight shutouts in the middle of May. Red Sox, all at home, but against the Red Sox, Chicago Cubs, and San Diego Padres. Didn't go the complete game in those. He's been pitching like a complete ace, man. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about that. He's consistently throwing like around 100 pitches. So I don't think the fact that he threw 100 pitches in another good start against San Francisco's last time out should affect him. He just comes out dealing it day to day, man. And against Arizona in his career, I mean, yeah, these hitters are familiar with him, but he's held them in check. They're only 18 for 76 off him lifetime with 3 doubles, a triple, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. He's got a 21-2 strikeout walk ratio against them. It's a 237 batting average and 677 OPS. So Chris Sale historically has done pretty well against these Arizona hitters as well. They have not hit him well. So that's all good. And then on the other side, we have the unknown in Gilbert Diaz starting for Arizona. He's one of their prospects, and they're calling him up. He's a young guy, man. I like this as far as the under. I like both starters here. Diaz is a 23-year-old Venezuelan pitcher, and I looked into who this guy is, and he's not just a guy they're bringing up to like fill in a role. He's a guy that they've kind of brought up through the minors, and he's gone up pretty quickly. He was like dominating in Double-A, and they brought him up to Triple-A, and his numbers in Triple-A, I think pitching in a Triple-A environment, I think is not really necessarily that great for pitchers. He started off, I think, a little rocky, but has been pretty decent. His numbers in AAA are not bad. Like, he's got like a 3-something ERA in his AAA stint. Pretty good strikeout numbers. His strikeout rate is actually really high in the minors. He's striking out like 11 or 12 batters per 9 innings. He's got one of the higher strikeout rates in minor league baseball, actually striking out like 34, 35% of hitters, which is really crazy. So he's striking out a lot of guys in the minors. His walk numbers are actually pretty low too, even though if you look at what he throws, he only has a 3-pitch arsenal. So that worries me a little bit because that makes you think that he might profile a little bit more as a relief pitcher as the Diamondbacks figure out how they want to use him. But we have seen some starters be able to do it with 3 pitches before, and you have to have good stuff. He does have a really good fastball that he throws in the upper 90s, so he can really throw that fastball by hitters, but his other pitches are a little bit questionable, I guess, where he has his next best pitch is a slider that I guess has pretty good break and is at least some alternative from the fastball that's a change of pace. And then he has a curveball that I guess Does have some crazy break on it, but I guess he doesn't control it that well, so he doesn't throw it as often. So a guy that doesn't really have a huge arsenal of pitches, so that scares me a little bit. That's like the one thing where it makes you think that he might not be able to be a guy that sticks like long-term in a starting rotation, even though he certainly has major league gas. It makes you think that maybe he'll wind up being a really good relief pitcher, but in a scenario like this, man, he's a good prospect. He has good stuff. He's striking out a lot of guys in the minors. His minor league numbers look really good, and he's making his major league debut, and he's facing hitters, even though they are good hitters in Atlanta. These are hitters who have never seen him before, man. So as I said it with Mitchell Parker. I'm going to say it again here with Yolbert Diaz, who is a better strikeout pitcher than Mitchell Parker, at least. He has never been seen before by these opposing hitters, so they're going to have to adjust and take a little while to get used to him. So Diaz might have a little bit of an edge there coming into this one. And another thing that I say with these over-unders, especially with the number being like kind of right around average, I would say, for a baseball game, right in the realm there, 8, like slightly below average maybe for a baseball game, right around 8. I think you're still going to need both teams to be able to put up some runs to push that thing over, and I'm not sure that's going to happen, man. With Sale and Diaz, both of these pitchers could come out and have pretty good games here, and you're going to need, I think, both offenses to be able to contribute here, and I think it's pretty likely that at least one of them gets held down. So I like all that. So those are the plays today, man. Washington Nationals, first 5 inning, -112, and under 8 at -105, I think is the best you can find right now in Atlanta, Arizona. That's going to do it, man. Hopefully we get back on track here. We have to. Let's kick off the week right. Come on. Football is about to start, and then maybe I'll be able to start turning this around and avoid a losing year. I don't think I've been down during the course of a year at this point in the year for years and years at this point, man. Never happens. My only losing year, like I have said before, since doing this from like 2008 on, my only losing year has been in 2015. But it came after a really good year in 2014. And this year, 2024, is coming off of having a really good 2022 and 2023. And the last half of the 2023 is documented on this channel. So you can see that even though it's been rocky for me recently, man, my stuff is documented. You can see I was doing well when I first started this channel. I don't know what to tell you. Let's get it done, man. Peace.